Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Waiting for Facebook to go, and here we are. Welcome, everyone, to episode 184 of the Aftermarks Podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one.
Yeah.
And it's not you
already brainless one yourself. Great. You know what?
It's not an aberration. Is that the word I was looking for?
No. Aberration.
It's not an aberration. We are wearing matching T-shirts that have nothing to do with the actual podcast itself. These bad Larrys were on the WWE website for about $14. And I'll tell you right now, as much as I love a good deal, I love a good deal that says, that's good shit, pal.
That's such good shit.
It's such good shit, pal.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got quite a bit to get into in today's episode. We're going to talk about...
I'm kicking this old school a little bit. You could talk.
Well, Jay's going to kick it old school by drinking a 40 Colt 45. I have things to do and people to see after the podcast, so I will not be partaking, although this is a very, very sad day that I'm not partaking this week.
Life happens.
Shit happens.
Dynamite taste of Colt 45. It works every time.
You know those bootios? They make sure you ain't booty. Booyah.
But anyway, we got quite a bit we got to get into this week. For the second week in a row, after I just talked about last week about how we never talk about Impact Wrestling, we got to talk about Impact Wrestling again.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the Slammiversary from last Saturday and the results. A few surprises during the show itself. I'm pretty stoked about what happened and everything. Also, we're going to talk about the horror show Extreme Rules. I can't wait to talk about that. I really, really, really cannot wait to talk about that. William Regal made a huge announcement this past Wednesday on NXT. A lot of people were trying to figure out what he was going to make for the announcement. And I'm really not surprised by the announcement, if I'm going to be honest. We had an interesting altercation of sorts between Adam Cole, baby, and former NFL punter Pat McAfee, who is the GOAT, who I've been saying for years should have been the one that got signed by WWE instead of Gronk. But they had a very interesting exchange this past week. We had a return on AEW this week. I'd like to talk about that as well. We had
a return on WWE as well.
Yes, we did have a return on WWE. Some very interesting facts also and statistics that have happened this week on wrestling television. And sorry,
you could have waited until you finished talking.
You're right. And just other news and notes from professional wrestling. But before we get into all of that, today is a very momentous moment, really. Well, technically it was, I believe Thursday was the actual day itself. But today we are celebrating the 4-year anniversary of the fastest growing podcast. The two guys who talk about professional wrestling while drinking 40s and Colt 45, because if the 40 don't get you, the 5 will. Who also hail from the great city of Bristol, Connecticut. And it is now official that I am the most famous alum from my high school. And sir, I think it's safe to say you are now the official most famous alum from your high school.
Now, I don't have the most name recognition, but I could be more famous.
You are the most famous for all the right reasons. Whereas the other individual from your high school, who shall remain nameless, we'll just call him A. Hernandez. No, that's too obvious. Aaron H. That was
Sharon Fernandez.
Yes. Who we may or may not know where he hid the gun.
I'm convinced it was in somewhere in Mansfield, Massachusetts.
I'm convinced it's in Bristol.
It could be.
It's in the pond.
I know they dredged it. They were looking for it.
I'm sure.
Anyway, professional wrestling.
But anyway, I never thought 4 years later we would be doing this podcast. I figured by now you would have, ended my life, or at least thrown me out the window, stuff like that. A lot of incredible things that have happened on this podcast.
The 5-star dog splash.
The 5-star dog splash definitely comes to mind. We got to see the brainless one. Well, you all got to see the brainless one fall after doing Edward 40 hands, and then thought it was a good idea to drink a beer afterwards.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. We also got to see the surprise appearance by Jesse Verner on one of the episodes of the podcast, where he literally came out of nowhere like an RKO or a fart.
Did you see the thing where Randy Orton let his kid give him an RKO out of nowhere into the pool last week?
Yes, I did.
That's good. So good. So
Wait, that's such good shit, pal.
yes.
We've done a lot of things on this podcast, a lot of great memories that we've had on here. I mean, we've had everything from award shows to songs to an alphabetical listing of one of our personal favorite wrestlers, Cassius Ohno, the
Yes.
baller Meatloaf.
Yes.
The Brainless One's gotten drunk. Cousin Jay has gotten drunk. El Jefe has gotten drunk. We've done it all over the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we've had quite a few people that have been guest hosts. And I think that this is great after this 4 years of celebrating this podcast with many more to go. Is there anything you would like to add to commemorate the 4-year anniversary of the podcast?
Well, having done this for 4 years, we've gotten to know a whole bunch of people out there around the world. But we really appreciate everybody who tunes in every week. There's some folks that I have friended me on Facebook, and we have good fun chats during the week. Some of it's wrestling, some of it's stuff that's going on in our actual real personal lives, and it's cool to be able to connect like that to people all over the place that we would have never met if it weren't for this. So I freaking dig that. So we got folks like Andy out there and Nicole out there,
Gags the Clown,
Jessica,
Gags the Clown,
Yeah.
Christopher Brown, somewhere hiding in the murky area of Chicago, Illinois. Don't eat brown snow. Somewhere
somewhere in Connecticut,
it's Tommy, an
Evan Marks Hall of
an
Famer.
OG Evan Marks Hall of Famer. Tommy.
He started listening to the podcast. Like he listened to the first dozen or so that were like audio versions only.
And it was actually great because right before the episode, I actually went on our Instagram page because I was actually able to find a little snippet of us recording for the first time a video version of the Evan Marks podcast.
Yeah.
And if you all can go out there and the first person to come out there and tell us what episode it was, we will come up with some kind of a prize or we'll give you a shout out. Yeah, that's what we'll do. The first person to go onto our Instagram page, follow us, like the post, and tell us which episode it was, you will get a shout out on this podcast, and we will also do a shout out to you on our Facebook page. This is such good shit. What's up, Timmy?
Man.
But it's just incredible, and I agree with you of all the wonderful people we have met over the years, while doing this podcast, from Gags to Clown to Little Jimmy. Obviously you've known Tommy, but I've gotten to know Tommy and Don't Eat Brown Snow, Chris, Sean,
Evan Marks Hall of Famer, Sean O.
Jessica, Nicole. Every single one. We are very appreciative, and of all the things that I am appreciative of, I am appreciative of the fact that we were such a.
I need you to look over here and.
Holy shit! Oh my God! It's been a long time since the last time I got Kenny Omega. The legend has returned, baby! Woo! Oh my God! That's when you know it's going to be a great episode of the podcast. When I get Kenny Omega.
I wonder if you're going to get that X-Pac too.
Don't Eat Brown Snow. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I missed you. Nothing brought me better joy on this podcast and warmed my heart better than our exchanges every time you, Kenny Omega, or X-Pac me to death. So
sweet. I'm attempting to fix the whole.
What happened?
Whatever. It is what it is. I was trying to get it so I could see the comments over here. But.
It's good.
Yeah.
But I do want to say one more thing about this. Wrestling Marks, Facebook.com/WrestleMarks, for giving us an opportunity to partner up with them and be the exclusive podcast of the Wrestling Marks page. We wouldn't be as I think
We appreciate what
we wouldn't be as globally known as the Brainless One thinks that we are.
anyway.
Anyway, thank you all who tune in each and every week. We couldn't have done this without you. Believe me, from the bottom of my heart, we are appreciative. 4 years in, and many, many more to come. And I'm pretty sure at some point within the next year, by the time we get to episode 5, or the 5-year anniversary, episode 5, I'll be right. The 5-year anniversary, I'm going to do Edward 40 Hands one more time.
Yeah?
Yeah?
All right.
So let's talk about some wrestling.
All right.
So last week we had the Slammiversary pay-per-view, which was a very, very interesting thing because we don't really typically talk about Impact Wrestling on the podcast. So I was very intrigued by it because they were floating around quite a few names that were rumored to be coming in or returning at the Slammiversary pay-per-view. But
a lot of them came back.
Yeah.
That we thought were coming back, and they did it in a pretty interesting way. And some names that weren't talked about that I'm super psyched they're actually back are the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin.
Wait.
I love those dudes.
Wait, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin make up Motor City Machine Guns?
Allegedly. I loved their run from 10 years ago in Impact Wrestling. They always had incredible matches. They went against Generation Me a few times, aka the Young Bucks. I think both the Hardy Boys were in Impact, and they had some matches against the Hardys. But when they went against Beer Money, when they went against Team 3D, always brought it 100%. I love those guys. I'm glad that they're back.
And a lot of people might know Alex Shelley from the fact that the last Dusty Rhodes Classic, him and Kushida were actually a tag team in there, and that was the last time we had seen Alex Shelley. And now
I forget if it was Shelley or Sabin, but one of them retired a year or two ago and unretired.
Yeah.
So one of them I think was actually it might have been Sabin, who was also either a guest or at least a temporary teacher at the Performance Center.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that sounds about right. But yes, very happy to see that
Motor City Machine Guns.
Thank you. That's a mouthful, man.
They're so good.
Glad to see them come back. They went up against the Rascals last week and were victorious. And after that, they actually challenged. Actually, we'll get into that. The winners of the tag team championship match between the North and Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan, and they had a match against them this past week on Impact Wrestling. We'll get into that after we discuss Slammiversary. But like Jay said, it's good to see both Sabin and Shelley back in TNA.
What's up, Kyle? Thanks for tuning in, man. Andy saying there should be a new 4 Horsemen with Adam Page, FTR, and Spears with Tully Blanchard as their manager. I kind of like that. Feud with Cody and Arn's team with Rusev once Rusev recovers from the coronavirus.
Speaking of Rusev, I want to get into because he was actually one of the other names that was floated around that would be debuting for TNA this past Saturday. It came out in an interview that Anderson and Gallows did where we found out there were specific names that got terminated because of the fact that they were very vocal about what happened in the last Saudi Arabia show where WWE wrestlers were actually, I'm sorry, silly me, I can't believe I did that. That's a mistake on my part. Where WWE superstars were actually held hostage because of a situation that happened between the Saudi government and Vince McMahon. And those 4 wrestlers were Carl Anderson, Rusev, Luke Harper, who is now Brody Lee.
What's up, Gags? Thanks for tuning in, man.
And most importantly, and this one really hurts me the most of all the people who actually got fired, because that actually makes sense why he got fired and not his tag team partner, Curtis Axel. That was the reason why they all ultimately lost their jobs in April when WWE cut ties with a lot of wrestlers. Was they were out there and they were posting about stuff that was going on in the Saudi Arabia show when they were all held hostage, and just proving once again that in 2020, two things: A, Vince McMahon is petty, and B, Vince McMahon is taking more L's in 2020 than anybody else.
This is such good shit.
It's such good shit, pal. And trust me, if you thought that shit was freaking good shit, pal, I'll tell you right now, Extreme Rules, that was another L that Vince McMahon took this year. So anyway, we're still back on Slammiversary. We also had a old school match, which is basically no holds barred, that was between Moose, who brought back the former TNA World Heavyweight Championship with him, against Tommy Dreamer,
Uncle Tommy.
Pretty solid match. And no surprise to both Jay and I, we both called it. Moose went over against Tommy Dreamer, which is pretty impressive because it's like, you know the old saying where the cow jumped over the moon. In this situation, it was the moose that jumped over what, the walrus?
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, so Gags the Kong chiming in. Sad news and somewhat wrestling related. The greatest Notre Dame fan of all time, Regis Philbin, has passed away.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, shit.
And he's been involved with several things with professional wrestling over the years. When he had his morning show, that professional wrestlers would go on there all the time.
Yep.
So that's a bummer, man.
We go. Regis Philbin.
Yeah. I believe he still holds the record for most hours of anybody on television in history.
That's him. Yep.
So that bummer. Rest in peace, Regis Philbin. Yeah.
As you can tell, Notre Dame, baby. Respect Regis Philbin. I love the fact that Regis Philbin in his office at his house actually had a Notre Dame chair. So that was like, yeah, Regis, I'm like, you and I will always have that. You know, we're both Notre Dame fans. So it is sad to hear Regis Philbin's passing.
Tim just had a very important question, and I answered him. When was the last time Tommy Dreamer won a match? My answer, at the buffet. Now, if he was going against Cassius Ohno at the buffet, he would lose that match. But
wait, who would win in a triple threat match at the buffet between Tommy Dreamer, Cassius Ohno, and Joey Chestnut?
I think Joey Chestnut would be the winner.
I'm going with Cassius Ohno.
All right.
Cassius Ohno is the most unstoppable. I don't understand why he's not in the hot dog eating contest. You know he would eat 137 hot dogs.
What about the Dozer? Dozer, should he be in that?
I don't know if he's like a competitive eater, though. I just think that Cassius Ohno would be, I understand that, but I just don't see it because with Cassius Ohno, he is still to this day the only wrestler who in the middle of the match got fatter.
One match, didn't he gain like 75 pounds during a match? He started off as 250 pounds.
It was 50 pounds because he started the match as 270. Then they said he was a 300-pounder, and then before the match was over, he was at 320 pounds. And it was like, how is that possible? He's gotten so massive that he's gaining weight in the middle of a match. I'm like, is he eating turnbuckles when we're not seeing it? Is he freaking John Lackey and just sucking up flies in the middle of matches?
He could be. You know, they could have made that swamp match just a little bit better by having John Lackey there sucking up the fireflies. I'm just saying.
Anyway, good to see Moose go over. Moose is one of those guys who's really talented, who's not affiliated with WWE. And I think it's better that he is not affiliated with WWE. I know he is really good friends with Apollo Crews and with Ricochet. But I think he's definitely better off being somewhere else. And hopefully he could be somebody who they can build around in Impact Wrestling. The man is just too talented to not be a big star somewhere. So I was glad to see that he went over on Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, I think well, Tommy Dreamer right now is there to do the honors at this point. Like, lend a little bit of credence to somebody who's coming up and trying to either toughen them up or just give them hardcore cred by being in the ring with him.
Which was funny too, because that was the first time I'd seen Tommy Dreamer in a match since last year's Double or Nothing, where he was in the Casino Battle Royale, and he was the first person on live television to eat the kicks of the GOAT, Orange Cassidy.
Yes.
But I mean, Tommy Dreamer for me, I don't even want. No, I'm not even going to get into it because I could go on and on about Tommy Dreamer, and I don't want to.
But no, we'll just move on.
We will just move on. So,
Andy Vest saying Moose sucks.
Wow. Okay.
I enjoy when Andy starts trolling. It's great. It's so fantastic. Anyway.
So we also had a Gauntlet for Gold match where we had a whole mess of knockouts going against each other. And the winner of the match was going to win a title shot in the future for the Knockouts Championship. The competitors were Alicia Edwards, Havoc, Kiera Hogan, Kimber Lee. I have to make sure I get Lee. Kylie Ray.
Is she related to Keith?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
She could be related to Cameron Grimes, who once upon a time was known as Trevor Lee. But anyway, Nevaeh, I think it's pronounced that right. Navia, I don't know. Nevaeh, whatever.
Wait.
Stop. Madison Rain, Rosemary, Susie, who still makes me laugh. Like the rest of the
Susie. She would do well in, like, if Deuce and Domino made a return.
Anyway, Tasha Steele and Taya Valkyrie, a.k.a. Mrs. Johnny Mundo. And pretty solid match. And to no surprise to the brainless one, Smiley Kylie went over in the gauntlet match and is now the #1 contender for the TNA Impact Women's Champion Knockout thing.
Knockouts champion.
TNA Impact Women's Champion, Knockouts Champion, whatever.
Puke, barf. Yeah.
But is that another F. Marks Hall of Famer I see?
El Jefe is there. He said, happy anniversary, you bums. Yeah.
By the way, he was talking about Shane Bieber like he was the second coming of, like, Sandy Koufax. You guys beat the Royals. You didn't see me going absolutely ape shit over the fact that we beat the Baltimore Orioles. Although I'm pretty sure that Jay, myself, and everybody who watches this podcast can go together and beat the Baltimore Orioles in a baseball game.
I still have somebody who owes me like a 6-pack for how crappy the Orioles were a year and a half ago.
It's been almost 2 years. Wait, wasn't that when we won the World Series?
Wait, yes, it was.
And the Orioles lost like 162 games?
Yes, my bet was that the Orioles were going to lose more games than the Red Sox won. And they won by 4, I believe. It was 112 to 108. Sad.
That's good shit, pal.
That's such good shit,
pal. I'm going to keep saying that all day.
Hey, for our YouTube, the still that I put for the YouTube.
Was that a picture of the shirt?
It wasn't a picture of the shirt, but it was Vince McMahon on the set of the Firefly Funhouse, and it says that's such good shit.
And Don't Eat Brown Snow brought up a good point. It was Chicago's own Smiley Kylie who got the victory in that gauntlet match, too. Just like the Cubs did yesterday against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
Probably the surprise of the opening day, because I think a lot of people were expecting the Brewers to be one of the best teams. Not that I'm not discounting the Cubs or anything. The Cubbies in shit.
Man.
But
yeah.
Anyway. All right. What do we got next? Then we had an X Division match between Willie Mack and Chris Bay. This is really bad. You want to know why this is really bad? Because one of the two competitors I've actually heard of, and the other one I spelled their name wrong.
Sad.
I spelled it Chris Bay like his name was.
Jason Bay?
Yes, I was gonna think.
Not like Bay, like.
I was thinking Michael Bay, but.
Right.
But it's Chris,
Jason Bay was great.
But Chris Bay, B-E-Y, actually went over on Willie Mack. We both said Willie Mack, and I spelled Chris Bay's name wrong. I should have known then that's when he was going to win that match.
Well, you know.
Even though I had his name right in front of me, and I still spelled it wrong. I'm just going to put the disclaimer out there right now. It's not just a gimmick. It's a lifestyle. To be brainless, you have to... No. Wait. To live brainless, you have to be brainless. Something like that, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah?
I wish Nick was watching.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah? All right. So, pretty solid match between Willie Mack and Chris Bay.
Andy, I agree. At this current moment, they're both kind of nobodies, but hopefully for one of these guys, this is the start of something. So, but one thing I'll have to say about Slammiversary, there are reports coming out that this is the best pay-per-view buy they've done in a very long time. So the company who owns them, that they have Fight TV is like their main app and what have you, and they do all sorts of things. Fight TV does not come out and put out the numbers that they get, but as far as like actual pay-per-view numbers, Slammiversary did very well.
Oh, so you're telling me that 12,000 that we have to beat is going to have to be some astronomical number?
No. 12,000 is still the bar that I'm like wanting us to beat. But as far as specifically like Slammiversary did really well. If we were on the Pursuit channel, I think we would get 12,000 people. You want to know why? It's such good shit.
I love it.
Yeah.
We had a Impact Tag Team Titles match between the North, which is Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, going up against the team of Sammy Callahan.
What?
The East. Sammy Callahan and, for whatever reason, in 2020, Ken Shamrock, still wrestling in professional wrestling. Although I keep saying that, and yet I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Ring of Honor's world champion is still Pierre from the Quebecers.
And he's about the same age as Ken Shamrock.
I think Ken Shamrock's older, though. I think by like a year or two. I think he's older.
Once you get to, like...
I mean, we're saying this, but yet 71-year-old Ric Flair wants to win a championship in WWE.
He could win 24/7 title.
That's the title he wants to win. He wants to win the 24/7 title. We can't have Ric Flair wrestling in 2020, Jay. We shouldn't have been having Ric Flair wrestling at all this century. The man's been wrestling.
Wait. He had the match of the night at WrestleMania 24.
Because Corey's favorite wrestler, Shawn Michaels, carried him with broken ribs.
He also had quite a match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania in this century. He's had some good matches this century. Now, the fact that he was there at the first wrestling match between Cain and Abel, that was, he was the ref.
Ric Flair showed up in the United States on the Mayflower. He was making Columbus. He was chopping pilgrims as they were getting off the boat.
He went with Lee Barracks into Newfoundland in Canada.
He was on the boat with Magellan. Ric Flair was the only one on the boat that actually made it around the world because Magellan was killed in the Philippines.
Yes.
Because Ric Flair chopped him and he ended up drowning in the water. Ric Flair was walking down the road one day, saw something brown on the ground and called it dirt. And the rest is history.
Chris Brown chiming in, Brainless one, Shamrock's wrestling because he blew his money in his prime and now he's working for money he needs to live on.
Obviously, it's the same thing with Ric Flair. Ric Flair's 71 years old and he has like 19 freaking alimony payments he has to make a month and shit.
Yeah, don't eat brown snow. Impact Wrestling is now on Access TV, which is definitely a much better home than the Pursuit channel. I still want to beat that 12,000 mark on the Pursuit channel.
It's going to happen one day. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. You're going to beat the 12,000.
If COVID-19 was a wrestler, it'd be Ric Flair.
I think if COVID-19 was a wrestler, it'd be John Cena. Because you can't see it. And I'm pretty sure that, and that's right, I wanted to talk about that too. I'm so glad that who brought that up? Who said COVID-19?
Andy.
Good job, Andy, because you know what? Something happened last weekend that I said I was going to bring it up on this podcast, and I had actually forgotten about it. And because you said that COVID was Ric Flair, that made me think that it was actually John Cena, because it is, because of what John Cena does. Because roses are red, violets are blue. No matter how many finishes you hit him with, Cena's kicking out at 2. And it's because something that happened very similarly to what happened almost 10 years to the day.
One more thing. Don't eat brown snow. Thank you for pointing this out. Ric Flair was on Noah's Ark.
Shit.
Yeah.
Good catch. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I also heard that he chopped down the cherry tree that George Washington claimed he had chopped down.
I heard that he actually out-chopped Paul Bunyan.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty impossible, but all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tim said, what a poet.
Who's a poet?
You.
Oh. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait. I'm a poet? No, it's not a poet. I'm a rapper. Get it right.
I'll brush your ass like Colgate.
Like a broken needle, kid, you're missing the point.
So good.
You know, and it's like, it's just remember one thing. When Eminem was going after all the other rappers in the world, the only one that he didn't go after was John Cena, because he knew better. He knew he couldn't mess with John Cena.
Right? Anyway.
But moving along.
Slammiversary.
But yes, the North continued on their company record-holding reign as tag team champions as they went over on Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan.
Sad.
Which led to the Motor City Machine Guns actually challenging them on Impact Wrestling this week. And now we have new Impact Tag Team Champions as the Motor City Machine Guns defeated the North, ending their historic run as Tag Team Champions of Impact Wrestling. So again, once again, congratulations to your boys.
Chris Sabin.
Chris Sabin. What do you mean?
I was mid-burp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Alex Shelley. I love those dudes.
They're
So good.
They're hell of workers too.
So good.
So we had the women's knockout championship match between Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo, who just recently was released by WWE before all the cuts actually happened. And she was actually able to sign with Impact, and she won. And she made an impact upon her arrival as she beat Jordan Grace for the Knockouts Championship.
I was surprised with this. Like, Jordan Grace has built a name for herself, and Deonna Purrazzo came from WWE, but it's like keep with the person who's been there, but all right.
See, Deonna Purrazzo winning the title from Jordan Grace, to me, is the most Dixie Carter move that Impact Wrestling could have done. Because it does seem like something that the old school Impact Wrestling would do, is that they would get the former WWE employee off the scrap heap, bring him in, have him fight for a title, and take the championship from said champion. And everybody's like, oh, wow, this is something that, WWE didn't do. And then we come to find out why WWE never did it and why they ended up in the scrap heap in the first place. Deonna Purrazzo.
That's not always true.
Christian. Hold on.
Deserved better than he got.
I think Deonna Purrazzo is definitely somebody who deserved better than what she got. Deonna Purrazzo just was in a situation where she just kind of got lost in the shuffle. They kind of wanted to keep her over in NXT UK. They had her down in NXT. They never utilized her. They brought her up and had her have a couple matches on the main card, getting squashed. I know she lost to Nia Jax, but
she didn't die?
I was going to say, she should just be thankful that she didn't get severely injured or die in the ring. But I thought that Deonna Purrazzo deserved a little bit better. I was convinced that she was going to end up wherever her boyfriend, Marty Scurll, was going to end up. But, I mean, shit happens.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. But I am happy for Deonna Purrazzo. And I think it's kind of funny that it's the NXT/WWE cast-off that will be going up against the AEW cast-off for the Knockouts Championship, as Smiley Kylie didn't end up signing with AEW for whatever reason. She said it just wasn't the right fit and all that stuff, but there's more to it.
Right.
By the way, I'm really happy for Deonna Purrazzo. She definitely deserved much better than what she got in WWE, and I know she's going to get that opportunity with Impact. So,
yeah,
I'm going to be a little bit more positive, thinking-wise, in regards to like how I look at Impact going forward.
Especially with what we saw from WWE.
Well, I'm going to get into that once we start talking about Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right. Well, what do you want to talk about right now then?
We got one more match to discuss.
For the championship.
The vacant Impact Heavyweight Championship, which was vacated by Tessa Blanchard. A little side note to that. It came out that Tessa Blanchard asked for, I believe, $150,000 for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship, and they didn't give it to her, so she kept the belt. And a lot of people are like, well, isn't that theft? No, it was the same thing as Alundra Blaze when she left WWE to go to WCW with the WWF.
Or Ric Flair when he left
WCW to go to WWF.
Yeah.
But, and they blurred out the World Heavyweight title for WCW?
Well, they had to, because there was a lawsuit that WWF ended up losing, and they ended up having Flair use, I believe, the World Tag Team Championships belt when he would come out, like after when the lawsuit started. And we still get the blur.
The most important thing, though, we got one of the greatest promos of all time. With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Woo! We're not the type of guys that like to say, we told you so, but we told you so.
It's my second favorite Royal Rumble of all time, 92. 97 is still going to be my favorite because that was really one of the points that really skyrocketed the GOAT Steve Austin into like a stardom that nobody ever expected him to get to. But 92 is still my favorite. Ric Flair winning out of the 3-hole. Bobby Heenan calling the match. That was Bobby Heenan's greatest performance on the broadcast as a color analyst in his entire career. I'm sorry. It was his second greatest performance in a single match in his entire broadcasting career. That match where Hacksaw Jim Duggan wrestled and Tony Schiavone called him a very intelligent man.
I might still have that.
Oh, I know you're going to have that one. I mean, if you don't have that one, it's sad.
Yeah.
But as you're pulling that up, they originally announced that it was going to be a fatal 4-way match for the Impact.
Not only that, he's a very intelligent man. Now, I know he comes... Would you settle down for 1 second? I know he comes out...
Bobby Heenan is the GOAT, man. I don't care what anybody says. But it was originally slated to be a fatal 4-way match between Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, Trey. I don't know. Is that like a cookie tray or a serving tray or?
So like, I could be wrong here, but so the guy who is the guitarist and lead singer for Fish, his name is he calls himself Trey, but his name is actually not Trey. It's like something Anastasio the Third. So Trey.
Right.
Number 3.
And then it was supposed to be determined. But in the words of Bad News Barrett, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. It turned out to be a 5-pack challenge for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship, as we got those 3, and the to be determined were a returning Rich Swann. Can you handle it? And also a Rich Swann returning from injury. Let me reiterate that. And a returning from the scrap heaps of WWE, who was poorly utilized, Eric Young, baby. One of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
And very happy for, I know we were both wrong, because you thought it was going to be EC3, and I said it was going to be Bully Ray. And the to be determined was neither one of them, and it was the 2 of them. But Eddie Edwards did go over and win the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. Well deserved.
Eddie Edwards is a hell of a worker.
Yes, I agree. I did not know that was his first time winning the World Heavyweight title too. So I was really happy to hear that he deserved to win that championship. And he's
put the blood, sweat, and tears over the years. And good for him.
And there was a situation that after his match, he was getting attacked by, I believe it was Sawyer Fulton, and
what's up, Eric? Thanks for tuning in, man. We appreciate it.
I forget who it was, but I think it was Ace Austin and Sawyer Fulton who came up to attack, and then the Good Brothers came out, and it looked like they were going to join forces with them. But now it appears that it's Eddie Edwards who's going to have the Good Brothers on his side.
Yeah?
I'd be curious to see if they do go forward with the Aces and Eights storyline, but have like Eddie Edwards being the man behind the Aces and Eights
possibly
group, or if they're just going to do something completely different. Either way, I was glad to see that they had some kind of an impact during Slammiversary. Yes, I know. That was a happy coincidence, by the way. See what they do going forward with the Good Brothers. I'm glad to see that they're working. I didn't think they were going to be out of work long anyway. Those 2 guys are very talented. It's just an unfortunate circumstance where they ended up going somewhere where they weren't going to be properly utilized. They are one of the most decorated tag teams in Japan. Well liked, well respected over there. That's where I thought they were going to end up going. We can still see them go over there because their deal with Impact for the next 2 years includes a chance for them to go over to Japan and work for New Japan at the same time.
So Anderson could go back home with his hot Asian wife.
Yes.
Good for those dudes for getting the deal that they got. And, we talked about it last week. AJ Styles has always been a good company dude. And I know most of his vitriol is placed on Paul Heyman. Vince McMahon had the final say on Anderson and Gallows. He could have fought Paul Heyman, especially with the fact that Paul Heyman was not long for this world as far as, WWE was. Like, I don't think Vince McMahon woke up like that day and was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to fire Paul Heyman. He was probably thinking about it for a while. So the fact that he took Paul Heyman's recommendation, a guy who he was thinking of firing, and then used it.
I think that, and now, especially after I found out that Carl Anderson was one of the wrestlers who got into trouble for speaking out about what had happened in Saudi Arabia, I think that they used Paul Heyman partially as a scapegoat for all of that so that Vince could somewhat save face. Where Vince was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to Paul Heyman because Paul knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to get rid of Anderson and Gallows and save a shit ton of money on the contract that I gave these guys. And then, he kind of flipped it, and it's like, well, I wanted to get rid of them anyway because Carl Anderson was one of the ones complaining about what had happened. And honest to goodness, I'm not saying what Carl Anderson did was bad. I'm not saying with Luke Harper posting what he posted, what Rusev said, what Curtis Axel said, what any of the wrestlers who came out and spoke bad about, because there was one other wrestler who did speak out and kept his job. Andrade. Andrade was one of the ones that came out and was vocal about what had happened in Saudi Arabia, but they said Andrade was safe because he's part of that Flair circle that everybody's getting all pissed off about. Although I am happy that Andrade kept his job because the guy is just too talented of a worker. Not to say that I'm not discounting any of those other guys, but it's unfortunate that that's what ultimately cost them their jobs, and I think that they're just using it. I think there's a broader spectrum of what has been going on behind all these releases and everything that's been going on with WWE that we don't know about. And with a lot of these guys now, with their no-compete contracts coming to an end, you're going to hear a lot of them freaking come out and speak negatively about WWE. Eric Young came out this week and did an interview and said that WWE is dysfunctional and doesn't know what the hell they're doing. EC3 this coming week is going to be on the Talk is Jericho podcast, and I can't wait to hear what he's going to have to say. We heard it last year when John Moxley was on the Jericho podcast right before he had signed.
He was the one
who came up with
this shirt would not have happened without him being on that podcast.
John Moxley. And, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are coming out and speaking the way that they're coming out. I love the fact that all these people are coming out because I want Vince McMahon to keep looking dumber and shittier. And the fact is that all this shit's coming out. And what was the big news regarding Vince McMahon this week? That him, his family, and some other high executives in the WWE,
AKA Beaver,
all came out and sold a shit ton of stock. The said Beaver sold enough that was over $1 million. He was the only one that sold over $1 million worth of stock.
He had a new damn. He had.
Well, obviously he was obviously Kevin Dunn was justified in selling all that stock because the man needs wood to build a dam. And it's funny too.
Was Raylan Givens there? He was justified. See what I did?
Which is funny too because I guess they're adding more to the Undertaker thing.
And it is Raylan Givens.
Yes, Timothy Olyphant will be narrating the Undertaker, the next bit that they're doing on the Undertaker on the network.
That was the best part of Extreme Rules last week was when Extreme Rules ended. And they did the stories of the last Friday. Extreme Rules, like, as it was 50-50 as far as like
it was as a whole, it was a horrible pay-per-view. I enjoyed the tag team match between the New Day and
I enjoyed Dolph and Drew. I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Tommy, Marks Hall of Famer. Tommy. Woo! It's a great day. There's a bunch of Hall of Famers. There's a bunch of Hall of Famers that came in today. It's like they knew.
4-year anniversary, Tommy.
We got F. Marks Hall of Famer Tommy. We got F. Marks Hall of Famer Don't Eat Brown Snow. We had F. Marks Hall of Famer El Jefe. I mean, if Sean O shows up, I'm definitely going to play Powerball tonight. I'm just telling you right now.
I mean, I can make that happen. I can make that happen.
If you text him and you get Sean O before the end of this podcast to chime in, I'm playing Powerball tonight.
He is lobbying for his brother to be a Hall of Famer.
We'll see how that goes. I have some people in mind that I like to add to the Hall of Fame.
Anyway,
Jeff liked our photo. Did he go on there and give a number, by the way?
I don't know.
What did Nicole say?
Ernest Joseph Anastasio, a.k.a. Trey Anastasio from Fish.
I got you.
Oh,
in here.
Yes.
Worthy. He's campaigning for his brother. Wow, people are campaigning to be in our Hall of Fame. This is incredible. This is like people trying to campaign to get in the WWE Hall of Fame. But you know the difference between our Hall of Fame and the WWE Hall of Fame is? Ours is legit.
Well, we don't have a physical building, but ours is not bullshit where we have pettiness.
I mean, what I'm thinking about doing is we can have like a Hall of Fame wall and just start putting all our Hall of Famers on the wall, which would be better than nothing like WWE has.
Oh, wait.
We do have Hall of Famers. Yes, there's one right there. There's one right there.
Not Hornswoggle.
Who's not alive in the Royal Rumble.
I mean, we do have to put that picture of Tommy in place of Hornswoggle.
We do have to put the picture of Tommy in place of Hornswoggle.
So,
but it's just, it was funny too because like I saw the report of that coming out, and I go in there and I'm like, and I was just absolutely shitting all over. This whole week I've been shitting on Vince and Kevin Dunn, and I referred to Kevin Dunn as the Bucktooth Beaver, and somebody replied to me and goes, "Who's the Bucktooth Beaver?" And I was like, "Kevin Dunn." And he started laughing. So I mean, people are starting to realize it. And when I talk about the Bucktooth Beaver, you should know that I'm talking about Kevin Dunn.
yes. Tommy, we get to decide where the picture goes, I guess.
Oh, he's definitely going to get where he wants it. Yeah, I'm definitely. I'll facilitate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, let's just go into Extreme Rules. I don't even need my notes because I already know what happened because I was that pissed off that the results from the pay-per-view were going to just sit in my brain. Now, I mean,
I have not been following WWE as far as like watching every single thing they do as closely as I had been. Like,
it gets harder.
That's what she said. But like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch this pay-per-view. And I immediately I'm not immediately, very quickly after I started watching it,
like I said,
I regretted it.
The tag team match was actually entertaining.
I like that. I like Dolph and Drew.
I did too.
And
it all went, and I'll tell you right now, you know when it all went downhill? With the United States Championship. They didn't even have a match. All they did was
there are things out of their control, so I'll give them a little bit of a pass with that.
Yes, I
a little bit.
And I was right. I love the fact that I was right. Let me see. Did you say the same thing? Let me check.
All right, Don't Eat Brown Snow saying Omega for the Hall of Fame. I might be able to back that up. I'd probably do Hangman Page before Omega, but you know what? I could probably be swayed to
you better
Kenny Omega.
You know what? Kenny Omega better hope that the freaking coronavirus doesn't knock us back to stage 2 or wave 2 or whatever the hell it was.
Stage.
Whatever. It doesn't
phase.
matter. Phase, stage, whatever. Don't care. All I know is that once this gets cleared and we can have enough people in a area, because I'm not wearing a mask to fight
Kenny Omega and a blow-up doll.
I'm not fighting Kenny Omega. When I fight the blow-up doll, I might have to wear a mask. I'm kidding. But I am going to prove that Kenny Omega doesn't belong in any Hall of Fame. And it's just, and I'm just going to set the record straight. The reason why Kenny Omega, in my opinion, is the most overrated wrestler in the entire industry is because of the fact that he's not a great promo, he's not a great character, and he's got a dirt face. Yes, Kenny Omega is an incredible in-ring performer. You know who else is an incredible in-ring performer? Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin isn't considered the GOAT. And since I am the messiah of GOAT calling, neither is Kenny Omega.
Yeah?
I can't. I don't get the whole, why is everybody obsessed with Kenny Omega? And everybody's like, oh, he deserves better than AEW. No, he doesn't. Why? Why is Kenny Omega? I think him going to freaking AEW was a flop. And we're not talking about Kenny Omega. We're going to talk about Extreme Rules.
Andy Vest says, so where is Sonny right now? Probably prison.
Rikers Island.
Yeah.
Something like that. Just want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Yeah. So basically, we started off with the New Day and Cesaro and Nakamura for the tag team titles match. A tag team title match in a tables match. Wow, I can't even get that out. This is what happens when Omega gets brought up. I'm completely thrown out of whack. It's because of the fact that the assholes at Starbucks got my order wrong. I just
sad.
Took me off my game. But anyway, Cesaro and Nakamura and the New Day had a pretty solid match in a tables match for the tag team titles. I liked the finish. I really did.
It was good.
It was pretty cool. Ultimately, Kofi Kingston comes out this week on SmackDown, says he's going to be out for 6 weeks, which means that Big E is the last, standing member of the New Day who's not injured, so he's probably going to get a slight singles run. We'll see what happens with that.
I've been talking about for at least a couple of years. Like I think that dude deserves a singles run, and I think the character that he's developed within the New Day has allowed him to get out of his shell, and I would love for him to be elevated on the card and get not just to like mid card. I want him main event.
So
he's big, he's strong. Him with the fucking popcorn is one of the best gifts out there. It is, to me, second to Kip Dynamite doing yes as the greatest gift.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. That's still the greatest gift. And the second
It's a very, very sad day
in America. It's a very, very. Although, like, there's
Rage Against the Omega. Yes.
Anyway, so congratulations to
Tim says we should skip the pay-per-view review and just rant on Omega. Oh, Tony Brown Snow said X-Pac a few times and Omega a few times.
I told you all that X-Pac doesn't bother me as much now because X-Pac has kind of made it where it's.
Andy Vest saying, I just need another night in China. Sorry, that is not going to happen again.
Anyway,
James Ellsworth for the Hall of Fame, according to Tommy. F and Mark's Hall of Famer, Tommy.
I'm going to get Meltzer involved because you know what? I mean, with baseball, all the baseball writers of America do their stupid shit and vote for all their baseball players to be in the Hall of Fame. So maybe I'll just get all the wrestling writers in there, and they can, they can vote on the Hall
Meltzer.
I have a whole bunch of, I have some plans going forward. They're going to start coming into fruition. Maybe I'll have a Hall of Fame committee. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come up with a Hall of Fame committee, and we'll just, what it'll be.
And Coco Beware is not going to be in the Hall of Fame, and neither is Nikolai Volkov, and neither is F and Mark's Hall of Famer El Jefe's father, Drew Carey.
I can't wait until they change the Cleveland baseball team's name to the Cleveland Carries.
They should be the Cleveland Browns.
They should be the Cleveland Bums.
Right.
Tito loves bums. But anyway, so again, congratulations to Cesaro and Nakamura winning the SmackDown Tag Team titles. They're not the Bar.
They are now.
Well, they're not the Bar.
They're the Bar because they're the champions.
But now Nakamura is now one title away from being a Grand Slam champion.
Not going to work here anymore.
And then again, so is Cesaro.
Right.
They both need to win the same belt. But so
Nakamura or Cesaro hasn't had the heavyweight title.
Yeah, they both need to win that belt.
Okay.
Because they both won the United States, they both won the Intercontinental, and they both
Tag
actually did Cesaro win the Intercontinental?
I don't think he has. I think he's been the United States.
I know he's been United States champion. This is why we need a producer to look up the stuff. And
Guillermo,
put it on the ball. If one of y'all who's tuning in right now can find out if Cesaro has actually won the Intercontinental title, I would be greatly appreciative of that. But if that, while that's going on,
El Jefe was like, dude, I had that idea like last year and you yelled at me for it.
which idea?
I don't know which one. Kenny Omega versus X-Pac for the WWE World Title.
Jeff, you got to be a little bit more specific. I yell at a lot of people a lot
About different ideas.
about different things.
Nia Jax. Tim said Nia Jax.
What about Nia Jax?
Just Nia Jax. greatest female performer since.
I bet you any money that Jeff's talking about that he came up with an idea for a committee for the Hall of Fame for us, and I probably yelled at him for it because it's just my
Hall of Fame committee.
All right, Jeff, you're right, and I apologize. I shouldn't have yelled at you about it. And you know what? I think that's
Right now, this is the committee for the WWE.
And I think I'm going to have a Hall of Fame.
Such good
I
shit.
think I'm going to have a Hall of Famers Hall of Fame committee for the Hall of Fame, and we'll let them decide who the Hall of Famers are.
Like Susan Waldman.
But I think what we'll do is we'll do it just like WWE. You and I will have final say on whether or not they go in.
Yeah?
But more likely than not, I'm just going to put them in anyway.
Hornswoggle's never getting in.
Tommy.
He is not alive in the Royal Rumble. He is not alive in the greatest Royal Rumble ever. He is not the anonymous Raw general manager. None of those things.
He's
are
also
true.
not Vince McMahon's illegitimate child either. But
That was such good shit.
that was not good shit. I mean, there was a lot of bad shit.
Thanks, Kennedy, for fucking that one up. And I love Kennedy.
So did I.
Kennedy!
Anyway, so we had a United States title match. Well, we were supposed to have a United States title match between Apollo Crews and MVP, which ended up in Apollo Crews, for whatever reason, was unable to attend. I heard it was like back spasms or something to that extent, and he was unable to make it to the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And because they had a signed match, and he was unable to perform, MVP is now your new United States champion. And MVP, who in my opinion is the greatest WWE United States champion of all time, is once again United States champion. So, I guess congratulations to MVP.
There is nothing officially confirmed about MVP being the new champion. It's certainly part of the storyline, but for whatever reason, the stupid booking continued after that. Like, with the Apollo Crews thing, like, stuff happened that they couldn't have possibly, like, anticipated. Okay, I'll give you a pass for that. The eye for an eye match, I mean, once they said that stipulation, I know I specifically said, like, there is no way that this match can end well. They might have a great match. There's no way they could make this, like, eye for an eye match anything but shit. And guess what? It was exactly what I thought it would be.
Anyway, so basically, it was after the United States Championship, whatever you want to call it, happened. We ended up getting Bayley versus Nikki Cross, where Bayley did go over on Nikki Cross, but if it wasn't for nefarious tactics, because Sasha Banks threw her boss
Brass
knuckles things that she wears on her fingers, and Bayley hit Nikki Cross with it, was the only reason. And I was really hoping for Nikki Cross because that was an incredible performance that she had on Sunday against Bayley, and I was really pulling for her. And
when we get the SmackDown, when we get to what's going to come up, we may still get the happy ending for Nikki Cross.
Maybe. I have my theories about that too.
But we'll get into that shortly.
So
Bayley won.
Did go over.
Nefarious.
Yeah. Then we got the eye for an eye match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins.
I enjoyed the intensity we got out of both participants in this match. There was no way they could make this match end and it not be shitty, though. And it ended and it was shitty.
And it wasn't good shit, pal.
Yeah.
I was curious. I guess my biggest thing was, ever since they announced it, I was curious how they were going to do it. How they were going to do the whole, like, how was the eye going to fall out? Because the way they were making it sound like was, if the wrestler pulls the other wrestler's eye out of his head were they going to use CGI, how they were going to do it. There was a lot of question marks and a lot of things that needed to get explained, and I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. And in a typical WWE fashion, the ending was stupid. Seth used the stairs to somehow pop Rey Mysterio's eye out of his head, and it looked so bad because the eye was so fake that it was just like, and you could barely see it too. It was really quick, and all you see was this little fake eye, and then you see Seth Rollins over in the corner blowing chunks.
He's gonna puke. He's gonna puke.
All I could think about was that scene in Tommy Boy where he's trying to sell the brakes, and there comes the meat wagon. The guy who's driving gets out and goes, "Oh my God!" And the new guy's in the corner puking his guts out. All because you wanted to save a couple of pennies. And it was terrible. And the whole thing, Dominic coming out, and they freaking walked Ray back there, and they got that towel covering his face, and I'm like, why WWE? Why do you do these things? Like, I braced myself for how bad that match and that ending was going to be. Even though the match was actually pretty good, it was really good wrestling, but I knew the ending was so fucking terrible that this is the latest into the podcast where I actually used the F word for the first time. That's growing, but
it's such good shit.
And all I could think to myself was, that might be the worst thing that happens on this card. And then the Raw Women's Championship match occurred.
Hold my beer.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. And so we had Asuka go up against Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. Now, I just want
the wrestling was fine.
Solid match. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of Sasha. You already know what you're going to get out of Asuka. And the way that they were talking about Asuka is they were going to have her have a long-standing run, and she was going to be the champion heading into SummerSlam, and they were going to use Kairi Sane as a way to, like, kind of boost Asuka's opponent for SummerSlam and all this stuff. And all I could think of, and all this shit, and just the ending of the match made me think of, now, I don't mind the fact that Asuka used the green mist and it got into the referee's face instead of Sasha Banks' face. I didn't have a problem with that. But it's just the stupid fuck finish at the end of that. It made me have flashbacks to when WrestleMania 17 happened 19 years ago, when Vince McMahon and Steve Austin joined forces, and it just was so stupid because, I mean, if it was one thing if like Vince went out there, cost The Rock the match, and Austin wins, and then they kind of celebrated, but the fact that Vince McMahon was like throughout like almost half the match and was trying to help Austin, and it's just like it seemed like they were just trying to fuck that whole thing up. And I stopped watching wrestling for about 2 or 3 years after that. After the Sasha Asuka match, I hit back on my thing. I went into my account and I actually pulled up where it said deactivate the network account, and I actually had my finger circling around that button to cancel the network. That's how pissed off and disappointed and disgusted I was about that. The fact that they had such a stupid end to the eye for an eye match and how stupid and fake it looked, and that match's outcome didn't even piss me off nearly as much as Sasha and Asuka's. That was the dumbest finish ever. Yeah. Period. I don't want to hear it. I'm not even going to argue it. You pull me up a match, I don't even care. You could try, but that was the
Montreal screw job has nothing on that.
Thank you. Primetime Brian Lee and frickin' Z-Man from Clash 13. No, actually, really, no. I mean,
the thing with Clash 13, bad booking, bad wrestling, bad scripting, bad everything. So bad, it was good. Where, like, you have mostly good wrestling with really bad booking for the ending, which, like, I'm not going to sit there in years from now be like, this is so trash, I enjoy this. No, I'm always going to be like, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I personally believe that this might be the worst pay-per-view I've watched in the last decade plus.
I am so glad that I did not drop the $50 or $60 that it used to cost for a pay-per-view on that abortion last night. Or not last night, last Sunday. And it's just, I agree with you. And all I could think of, I mean, it was just crazy to me, like all these flashbacks I had. Because it was like, I flashed back to WrestleMania 17 and how stupid of a finish it was. Then you think about like Bailey's and then the Bailey-Nikki Cross match where Nikki Cross DDT'd Bailey outside the ring. So I had flashbacks from SummerSlam 2010, which I wanted to bring up to you all. What one was a worse sell job of a DDT on the concrete outside the ring? Was it Bailey this past Sunday at Extreme Rules, or was it John Cena at SummerSlam 2010 against the Nexus?
I think it was actually Bailey.
I think it was Bailey.
Because, like, I'm not going to say completely no sold, but almost. Like, at least Cena kind of laid on the ground for like a couple seconds and took a 2 count. Bailey got up as if almost nothing happened.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, she probably had a complaint that she had to give to the manager, but like
the only thing that she did that kind of like almost sold it was the fact that she kind of like the way she was carrying herself after she ate that DDT was kind of like me after I had my 3rd golden monkey, and I'm just trying to gain my wits about myself.
It was like PM News when he fell through the ring after the scaffold match.
Are you done?
No.
It was just so that left such a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't even want to watch Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, but I had a lot riding on that Drew McIntyre Dolph Ziggler match because
I really enjoyed that match.
The match was tremendous. I will give it that. It was definitely tremendous. Both of those guys put it all out there. They had a great wrestling match. They both delivered.
What I really liked about this match, usually when you get a match where somebody's using a chair or using some sort of weapon, they make sure that the other guy is not taking advantage of the guy that they're like wailing away on.
Yeah.
As far as like, all right, well, this person used a chair, the other person has to use the chair, so just in case this person is an asshole and unprofessional, they get to get their comeuppance against that person. So specifically in this match, Drew McIntyre could not get his comeuppance against Dolph Ziggler. Dolph was operating under Extreme Rules and Drew wasn't. Drew could lose his title, count out, disqualification, and just regular pinfall and submission.
Right.
And Dolph could do anything he wanted to. And Dolph still lost.
Yep.
But I dug the fact that they went there with that. Dolph is the ultimate professional in professional wrestling, where it's like Drew trusted him enough to be like, all right, he is not going to be a dick. He's not going to do something that's going to harm me so much that I'm not going to be able to perform after this.
Right.
And I still love Dolph. I know that he will never be, a big thing from here on out.
He's a Hall of Famer regardless.
But Drew had enough respect and belief in Dolph that Dolph was not going to hurt him.
Yeah.
And let Dolph do whatever the hell he wanted. And Drew went over, and it was kind of anticlimactic at the end, but beside that, like a really, really good match. I thought they did the best they could to develop this story about hey, Dolph was the one who brought you to the dance, and you wouldn't be here without him. And I don't think anybody in the world thought Dolph was going to win, but heck of a match. Good for them.
I agree. And I know that The Rock was pulling for Dolph Ziggler to win the match, and I know that a lot of people were out there pulling for Dolph Ziggler to win the match. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful in winning the championship, and it's they had, like I said, they had a great match. That was the important thing, was they had a great match and they told a good story.
They did. It was one of the matches that was not a disappointment on this show.
Speaking of disappointments, I get what these whole cinematic matches that WWE does. That the important thing behind these matches is, are you entertained? I was thoroughly entertained watching the Boneyard match from WrestleMania. I was beyond entertained watching the Firefly Funhouse match.
That's such good shit.
I loved the Money in the Bank.
I was not a huge fan of it.
I thought it was good. I thought it was something different.
It was different.
They had to do something, and I actually enjoyed what they did with that. The whole thing with the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, where they had the ninjas and the Akira Tozawa, and I was like, not so much. But I was willing to give the Firefly Funhouse, or I'm sorry, not the Firefly Funhouse, the Wyatt Family Swamp match, the chance and the opportunity that it could have been, and it was decent. They told a great story. I still think, and I will continue saying this, that Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotundo, is the most talented person on the roster in all of WWE. The fact that he got over the Bray Wyatt character, the fact that he's getting over the Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt character, and the fact that he is killing it as the Fiend, just proves how reversible he is, how talented he is, and that this guy is their biggest star, and they just haven't figured it out yet. And I really do hope that they can build this dude up to be one of their biggest stars of all time, because they have that chance. And he's not that old yet. I want to say he's either 32 or 33 right now. He's got quite a few years left at him. I mean, hell, you think about it. AJ Styles is 43. He's got a few years left in his contract. Edge just re-signed for 46. Randy Orton's like 40 or 41. You know, you got all these guys. I mean, Shelton Benjamin's 46. Jeff Hardy's like 45. You have a lot of time with this guy, and you can actually do something to make this guy a fucking star and build around him. I like the story they told. Him and Braun have been killing this whole rivalry. I like certain aspects of it. I thought it was stupid that a lot of the fighting happened between Braun Strowman and a bunch of guys that you don't even know who they were because they were wearing masks. At least they were wearing masks at this time.
They were part of the Dark Order. That's just my opinion.
Maybe they were part of the Ark Order.
Yeah.
He also even took one guy, beat him up, and threw him into a fire. And, you know, they had the whole thing where he got bit by the snake and he got whacked with a shovel by himself. And, you know, and then the whole thing where he's walking by the pier and he sees Sister Abigail, and it turns out that she transforms into Alexa Bliss. I love that part of that.
I did like that.
That was a curveball that nobody expected, and I was like, this is freaking amazing. And I think that there wasn't a lot of like fighting between the two. It was just them kind of like conversing for the most part. You know, Bray trying to bring back the monster that he was, and like, I created you. I need you to be the monster. When this is all said and done, you and I need to be standing alone on top, side by side, having each other's backs. And I'm like, this guy's a fucking, he's the GOAT. I love this guy. And I think that I wasn't as entertained by it as much as I could have been, but I wouldn't say it was the worst thing I've ever seen.
No.
It could have been the worst of all of the cinematic things that WWE did, it wasn't even remotely close to the end of the women's Raw title match.
Right. Now, this was called Extreme Rules Horror Show. And what happens at almost the end of every horror movie where you got the bad guy at the end who you think might be dead reappearing. And that's how they ended it. So I guess as far as the theme goes, they ended it fine, but it was like, all right, they didn't really clearly set rules for that match. How do you win? It was so vague that at the end, like when he gets out of the swamp, it's like, who won this match? What clearly made it that he won?
Did Braun Strowman basically drown in the swamp?
We don't know.
We don't know.
But there was not a clear reasoning for who won and who lost.
And it could have been that Braun Strowman was the fourth person to die on WWE television over the last few months. And I'm sure he's going to come back because he's still Universal Champion. And obviously, they're building towards SummerSlam between The Fiend and the Monster Among Men.
Which I believe The Fiend needs to win that match.
Oh, absolutely. No disrespect to Braun Strowman because I actually like Braun Strowman. I'm a huge Strowman fan, but The Fiend needs to win that match. I will say this. One thing they definitely dropped the ball on at SmackDown this
Husky
week.
Harris, what?
One of the things they dropped the ball on SmackDown last night was I needed Otis Dozovic. Excuse me. Wading through the swamp, trying to find Braun Strowman holding his briefcase. That's what I needed. That's what they could have made up for that. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
it definitely wasn't the worst ending as far as that match goes, but I just wish there were clearer, like, all right, this is how you win or lose. Just having The Fiend show up at the end, but it definitely seems cinematic matches-wise with The Fiend, like even with the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania, there wasn't a clear, like, what the hell is that? And he won, but, like, how did he win? Like he kind of got a pin, but it was like he somehow, with his powers, sent John Cena on an acid trip.
I still love that shit because the fact that John Cena basically trolled on himself was the best part about it. That of the Firefly Funhouse, obviously.
Yeah,
But I think that they really should have done differently. I think that they could have saved it just by having Otis Dozovic going around the swamp, just making his Dozovic and his dozer noises with the briefcase. Yeah! You know, trying to find Braun Strowman.
pretty lady.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But I guess my only question, now that Extreme Rules is over, how the fuck did Bruce Pritchard not get fired halfway through the show, kind of like Ole Anderson did halfway through Clash of the Champions 13? Because I'm pretty sure that once Primetime Brian Lee fucked up that cross body from the Z-Man is when they called Ole Anderson into the office and shit canned him and walked him out.
It's because Vince McMahon has the final say, and you know what? Extreme Rules, according to Vince McMahon, this is such good shit.
Vince just needs to die. I'm sorry. I have to say it. I know it's dark. I know it's morbid and it's fucked up that I said that. But the only way that WWE is going to get any better is if Vince McMahon just fucking perishes. Vince just needs to go away. Vince needs to just stop doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
He's not helping the industry. He's hurting the industry. The fact that he had his employees held captive and hostage in a foreign country, which has no problem killing Americans as it is, and you do that shit, you basically prove that you think that you're bigger than a fucking pandemic by having your wrestlers wrestle during all of this. And then you get mad when they're going out on social media and saying that they caught the virus. Oh no, somebody in WWE caught the virus. Yeah, 40 fucking people caught the fucking virus because you're too fucking stubborn and stupid and a fucking waste of a human being at this point, Vince. The fact that you just couldn't just stop because it's all about money, and the fact that you're selling shares, and the fact that the XFL went bankrupt, and because you didn't want to pay Oliver Luck, and then you wanted to save face, and then you go and you fire all these people in the middle of a pandemic, and you still have the 90-day.
I'm going to add on to not firing people during the pandemic. How many people did AEW fire? How many people did Impact Wrestling fire? How many people did Ring of Honor fire?
Impact Wrestling added people in the pandemic. AEW added people during the pandemic. New Japan stopped. New Japan, which is the WWE of Asia, stopped and waited for their shit to get settled in before they started doing it. But because of the fact that we live in a country where people are just so damn stupid and stubborn to not wear a mask, is it that hard to wear a mask? The fact that Canada hasn't had more than 500 cases in a given day in an entire country, whereas here in Hampton Roads, we had more than twice that many yesterday in the Commonwealth. We had more people that tested positive in the 7 cities that we are part of and here in Portsmouth than Canada in a given day. Canada hasn't had more than 500 cases in a day since May. They got it all under control. Canada's not letting the Toronto Blue Jays play baseball right now in their country because they're afraid of the fact that we're just too stupid to do what we're supposed to do. It blows my mind that Vince McMahon has considered his employees, even though they're contractors, that his independent contractors, sounds familiar, are considered essential employees. I understand that AEW is doing the same thing, but it's like you don't hear these issues that AEW is having. Because AEW is like, yeah, this shit happens and stuff. But at the end of the day, Vince thinks he's bigger than everything out there. Vince just, I just get all fired up and pissed off because it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just tired of it because Vince McMahon thinks he's bigger than everything else in this world. He's keeping his people working during a pandemic. Vince is firing people in the midst of all of this. And the sad part is, it's like you think he's doing it because he's losing money. No, the fact is he's made a lot of money this year, and he's still let go of people to make even more money. And it's like, Fox has already come out not even a year into the contract and said they've already regretted giving all that money to WWE for what they have done. And it's just, it blows my mind that this man just doesn't get it. He needs to build new stars, but yet he's still throwing these people down everybody's throats. And it's the same stupid recycled storylines over and over and over and over again. And all he has to do is just do something different. And the fact that he's come out now this week and said, hey, I'm going to start building new stuff. It's too little too late, old man. Just go away. And this past Sunday was enough of a reason for me to, the fact that I actually contemplated canceling the network for a second time, even though I don't remember why I did it the first time. But the fact that I contemplated, the second time wasn't Roman Reigns. But it's just, I really wish I didn't delete those tweets. That's what killed it. If I remember then, I would have figured it out. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
So that was Extreme Rules.
Extremely terrible.
Yeah, but it is not ever going to compete with Clash 13.
No, because I actually enjoy it. I enjoy watching.
It's so good, it's terrible, or it's so terrible, it's good. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab your notebook because I've already rolled up mine like a freaking burrito. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would say in general that there wasn't much to mention as far as like Raw.
We don't have to talk about stuff we don't have to talk about.
We did have Aleister Black eating a pinfall, which is like
his first loss as a singles competitor.
That wasn't like chicanery like AJ Styles beating him after like going through 2 opponents before. We did have Shelton Benjamin becoming 24/7 champion, beating R-Truth.
Fun fact about that, that was the first victory Shelton Benjamin had on Monday Night Raw since 2006. 14 years.
Ruby Riott, not that she had a streak similar, but it had been over a year since she had a victory on Monday Night Raw.
She said that was her first victory since January of 2019. Donnie Brown Snow said, I haven't watched WWE since the Raw after Mania last year. I know that El Jefe was actually in a similar situation where he stopped watching after a while. I really would have gotten into it if Gronk had actually stayed and did something instead of going to play for the Bucks and his boyfriend Tom Brady, but it's just...
Yeah.
I hate Brady.
Hashtag hire Russo.
Oh, goodness, no. Who said that?
Monsef.
Oh, no.
Come on.
No. The only thing that Russo has done good over the last God only knows how long is the fact that it came out that he wasn't the mastermind that killed Owen Hart.
Right.
That was the big daddy himself. Which was another reason how he took another L. The freaking Dark Side of the Ring this entire season 2. Vince took L after L after L. He took an L after the Benoit one. He took an L after the Snuka one. And he took the biggest L after the Owen Hart one.
Not the Herb Abrams one.
The Herb Abrams one was fantastic. And someone
He went how he wanted to go.
Cocaine and hookers.
Anyway.
But I just I can't wait because I'm somehow, some way, and you know this is going to happen. I'm somehow, some way going to come out with a Marquee Award to give to Vince McMahon at the end of the year because of the fact that I just can't anymore. I just can't. It's just I can't. No, I just can't do it.
All right.
But I was glad to see that Shelton Benjamin won the 24/7 title. I mean, R-Truth, who's like the 80 millionth time 24/7/11 European champion of the universe. You know, so I was glad to see Shelton Benjamin. He had a nice little interaction with MVP and Bobby Lashley. A lot of people are speculating because Ron Simmons did come out on Raw this week, and a lot of people are speculating about doing a Nation of Domination reboot with all those guys. I think it's stupid to kind of do something like that. Just kind of do their own little thing. You don't have to come up with a...
Well, it's like when Evolution came out, they didn't call themselves the Four Horsemen. You could still do a faction, and it'd be reminiscent of another faction. Just don't call it the same thing.
Yes, agreed.
So we did have a returning Mustafa Ali with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet going against Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. And Mustafa Ali got the pin.
On MVP, who is the United States champion.
Probably not.
Yeah,
For real.
just like we thought we didn't think Sasha Banks was going to be.
And she's not. Stephanie McMahon said so. So it was good to see Mustafa back, but between the fact that Mustafa's back and Shorty G had a match for getting an opportunity at the Intercontinental title next week, who's the hacker? Oh, wait, they probably just put that away and want to pretend that it never happened. It's probably Hornswoggle. That would be some bullshit they'll come up with. He's the fucking hacker. He's the anonymous Raw general manager. He was actually originally in the gobbledygooker costume. He was Eggman. He was the Walrus Cuckoo. You name it. Hornswoggle was it. He is going to be a Hall of Famer, but not in our Hall of Fame.
He was El Torito, even though he wrestled El Torito in a tables match.
Isn't that Nicole's favorite match?
El Torito versus Hornswoggle?
Or was that one of your coworkers who loved El Torito?
It was Greg.
Close enough.
Greg was the one that said, who would you rather fight? I think it was El Torito, like 12 El Toritos and one Great Khali or some shit like that. So
that's tough. So we did have the Street Profits going against Angel Garza and Andrade. And Montez Ford hit one of the greatest frog splashes I've ever seen. It might be the greatest one I've seen since the 5-star dog splash.
Still the greatest frog splash of all time. By F and Mark's Hall of Famer, Dixie Doodle, Dandy. But yeah, I love Montez Ford. He's one of those guys that I just love watching him in the ring. He's a real good worker.
Especially when he killed himself right before WrestleMania.
Yes.
For no reason. WrestleMania! So good.
WrestleMania.
So Angel Garza this week got married. Congratulations, dude. Yeah. So Street Profits go over in this match. Good for them.
There you go.
Then we had the SmackDown Women's Champion on Monday Night Raw. You know, as part of the storyline as being tag team champions and the whole thing going on with Asuka and Sasha. We had Kairi Sane going against Bayley. Guess who didn't win?
Kairi Sane.
Bayley.
I know. I'm just being an ass.
I know. Yeah, I love when fucking champions lose non-title matches. It makes so much fucking sense. It is the greatest thing ever. You make your champion look like a fucking piece of shit. I can't believe that they keep doing this stuff. They did things on SmackDown that I was actually like, well, that's good of them to do. But you have your unless you are the Universal Champion or Heavyweight Champion, just figure you're going to lose a whole shit ton on TV.
Especially when you're the tag team champions and lose to Roman Reigns in a 2-on-1 handicap match.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
That never always happens. Or when you were very recently tag team champions and then you lose to the Big Show. And then the Big Show loses to Randy Orton in an unsanctioned match, aka No Holds Barred. I'm kind of psyched that they have brought back the punt as part of his thing. And I always come back to that. That's a way that they can get him to be even more heel, get him to get rid of the RKO and just
Pump
do that.
The skull.
Yes. Because they could do fine without the RKO, with him still having the RKO while the fans aren't there. If fans are in the audience, guess what they're going to do when they see the RKO? They're going to fucking pop loud as hell.
Shit, I mean, the last few times we went to a wrestling show, it was a SmackDown show that Randy Orton was a part of. And it's like, hey, man, I paid good money for this wrestling ticket. I need to see at least one RKO. I'm like, hey, I'm watching this pay-per-view. I need 4 RKOs. This is a Royal Rumble. I want 9 of them. I want Randy Orton to RKO everybody in the fucking building, especially Kevin Dunn. He can put him in the skull, too. Bucktooth Beaver.
Yeah.
But Randy Orton did go over on the Big Show in an unsanctioned match. I am shocked. This is my shock face.
So the rumor is Randy Orton's going to be going against Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, and SummerSlam officially is not going to be in Boston. But one thing interesting that did happen on Raw this week was Dolph Ziggler is trying to get another match with Drew. And apparently Drew McIntyre is okay with this. Despite the fact that the odds were completely stacked in Drew's favor, or in Dolph's favor, he lost. But for whatever reason, Drew is deciding, like, yeah, I'll have another match with you. And this time, Drew actually gets to pick the stipulation. So maybe this is the comeuppance that Dolph didn't receive at the pay-per-view, where he's going to get his ass lit up by chairs and other things that McIntyre had to eat during the show. Who knows? Or maybe it'll be like his hands tied behind his back or some shit like that.
Or if he loses, they shave his head.
Right. Tim would like to hear a Kenny Omega soliloquy.
is a GOAT. Yes, don't eat brown snow. I agree. Kenny, oh my God. Randy Orton is definitely a GOAT. I've been flirting with the thought of putting Randy Orton in my Rushmore. He's just one of those guys that the more I watch him and the longer because he's been wrestling there for 18 years now. He's now, they've actually said that he's kind of accepted the role of being the leader of the locker room for Monday Night Raw. You know, for a guy who really had a horrible reputation early on in his career. I mean, the fact that he was the reason why Kofi Kingston basically got buried about 10 years ago and never got a chance until last year. Randy Orton has definitely done a complete 180. He's become more of a leader in that locker room. And I think that Randy Orton definitely deserves a shot at the title. And I think Randy Orton should be the one that breaks Ric Flair's record.
So one thing that was brought up far, far earlier in the podcast, Andy brought up, he thinks it would be cool if Randy Orton went to Impact Wrestling and had Jake the Snake Roberts as his manager.
AEW.
No, he said Impact Wrestling.
But Jake the Snake's on AEW.
So Randy Orton's in WWE. He says he wonders what our thoughts are on Jake the Snake Roberts being the manager of Randy Orton and having it be an Impact Wrestling. I mean, I would see it as something that would definitely bring some different eyes to the Impact Wrestling product. But at this point, I think Randy Orton is such a good promo that he doesn't need somebody like Jake Roberts. Like in 2006, they brought Jake the Snake Roberts back specifically to have moments with Randy Orton in the WWE ring. Yes, it was so Jake Roberts could pimp the documentary that WWE was doing on his life, which, by the way, check that documentary out. It's very dark, but just very good at the same time. But I think Orton does completely fine on his own at this point. He doesn't need Jake Roberts. It would be an interesting pairing. It would have been more interesting if it was 10 to 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would work today. And nothing against Jake, nothing against Randy, but like they don't need each other.
Tim would like to know that if Dolph Ziggler ever becomes world champion again, am I still going to do the Man-O-Lantern?
You should.
I think I'm going to.
I know it was a one-time own.
No. I think that a lot of people came out and said that they really enjoyed the idea of doing the Man-O-Lantern. Maybe I'll come up with another way so that it's probably going to end up happening. I think I'm trying to determine whether or not I'm going to make it a thing where somebody needs to win a match for me to do the Man-O-Lantern live on the podcast, or if I'm going to have to do some other thing. Maybe I'll do something podcast related. Maybe that's what the stipulation will be. Because I know I've been talking about either dressing up like Goldust or Roman Reigns, or, I've already dressed up like Kevin Owens, and I threw up like 12 times after that show.
After eating a bunch of cupcakes.
I've never had a hunger for cupcakes more in my life than the episode I dressed up like Kevin Owens. And I said Roman Reigns and Goldust and all these other wrestlers and everything. Maybe what I'll do to help you guys, to help it out and have you guys go out there, maybe the episode, when we finally get that episode where we surpass Impact, is when I'll do the Man-O-Lantern live on the podcast the following week.
All right, 12,000 people.
You guys get 12,000
Make sure you like
people.
it, share it, send it out to everybody.
Tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends and tell their friends. And you just, word of mouth gets it out there. 12,000 in one episode of the F and Marks podcast. The Brainless One will do the Man-O-Lantern live on the podcast.
Yeah. All right. So that was mostly Monday Night Raw. NXT this week. We had Timothy Thatcher and Oney Lorcan in a rematch from Great American Bash. I love these two guys together. They bring the best out of each other, and they have hard-hitting affairs that, it looks like these guys are really beating the fuck out of each other. And I love this match. Lorcan seemingly had the advantage, and because of the move he did, he ended up getting himself pinned. He had one of the various arm bars on Timothy Thatcher, but Thatcher ended up using the leverage he had to pin Borkin.
Well, we also got in NXT this week. First of all, that was a tremendous match. Those two have had two great matches, and I just love that Oney Lorcan's finally getting these opportunities to actually showcase himself, and good on him. And I'm glad that him and Thatcher have been having great matches. But also this week, because it actually kind of plays into it with Timothy Thatcher. This week, William Regal said that he was going to have a major announcement in regards to the future of NXT. A lot of people were like, well, hopefully he doesn't step down because he's the only good general manager authority figure that's on WWE television. And Regal made the announcement, and that's no surprise to me, that Keith Lee relinquished the NXT.
Keith Lee technically made the announcement, and then Regal came out and said.
So what they're doing for NXT Takeover, I think 30, I think that's the new one.
Triple X. It's going to be during SummerSlam weekend.
There will be a triple threat ladder match.
No.
5?
5 people will be in the ladder match, and they're going to have 5 triple threat matches to get the contenders for said match. So
this week we had a qualifying match for that, and then that one was
Johnny Gargano, Roderick Strong, and Bronson Reed.
And Bronson Reed, really to the surprises of me personally, got the victory. I like seeing that these new guys are getting a chance, but Bronson Reed kind of because they haven't really booked him super good. He was kind of used to help build up Karrion Kross, to help him build up, because it looks like he's going to be the one that's going to get the next shot at the NXT title. But Bronson Reed did go over. Next week, it looks like it's going to be a triple threat match between Finn Balor, Dexter Lumis, and Timothy Thatcher. And the winner will be in that title ladder match. I could see a situation where it's going to be like triple threat match, triple threat match, triple threat match, triple threat match.
Well, that's what
and then
Regal
they'll have like a second chance freaking match.
No, possibly.
Because they like
so
to
we
do
might
that
we might end up getting Gargano in this match because they're like, well, he's such good shit,
right?
And he could sell well, and he could.
I want Dexter Lumis to win it so bad. I want Dexter Lumis.
Yeah,
I do. He's one of my favorite guys down in NXT. He's an interesting looking character. He's done very well with what he's gotten. And I still remember the first time I saw him, I was like, what in the fuck is going on here? I'm like, he looks like one of those guys that rolls up in one of those freaking unmarked vans and just, spooks the shit out of you. And shit.
Yeah,
man.
But all right, so we did have Karrion Kross going against Dominic Dijakovic. Kross looked really good here. There was this one spot in the match where he had Dijakovic's head between the ring post and the steel steps. Felt almost like a stairs match. And then Kross ended up kicking the stairs. And kind of after that moment, Dijakovic was out of it, and Keith Lee came out and dude, don't even try to fight this. Just give up. Dijakovic no, and Kross just ended up choking him out. Yep. Great way to get him over.
This was Karrion Kross's, or Killer Kross, or whatever you want to call him. That was his best performance since he's joined the NXT brand. And I'm looking forward to him and Keith Lee for that world title at NXT. My guess is probably Takeover.
Takeover 30. Yeah. So for the most part, that was NXT this week.
Yep.
Booyah, booyah, booyah. All right. So SmackDown this week. Nikki Cross, after the chicanery that happened against Bayley, basically Bayley and Sasha were out bragging about how great they were and this, that, and the other thing.
Thanks for tuning in, Kyle. Sorry.
And Nikki Cross is like, I want to take you on again, and I want another chance. Well, Bayley's like, okay, well, you just need to beat Alexa, and then I'll face you. So they had a match, and Nikki ended up winning. And she will be facing Bayley. I don't know if they've officially said will be this week on SmackDown, but will be facing her soon.
It was announced this morning that it's going to be this week on SmackDown.
For-
matches.
For the NXT Women's title. And one thing that I think they did actually really well on SmackDown was to push forward to next week. So Nikki Cross wins this. Then we had King Corbin come out and offer a bounty
King's ransom
for anybody to beat up Matt Riddle. Well, Matt Riddle, Tony Nese answered the challenge. Tony Nese always looks good, always makes the person he's in the ring with look good, but like, I nothing wrong with Tony Nese, but I don't think this does Riddle any favors. But Riddle won this match, and good for him, but, he was going against a little guy after he had a heck of a match with AJ Styles a week or two ago. Him going against Tony Nese does not elevate him.
No.
And I would say after going against AJ Styles, him going against King Corbin does not elevate him. So I'm not terribly excited about the King Corbin feud, but it is what it is. And one thing I have to say about this, Corbin at one point actually shit on 205 Live and shit on NXT during his promo. Not the greatest thing to do.
That's why he's the best heel in all of WWE right now.
Yeah. All right, so then we had a fatal four-way, and the winner of this fatal four-way was going to get a shot at the Intercontinental title next week. We had Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Shorty G, and Drew Gulak going against each other. Now, any of these guys going against AJ Styles, I'm completely game for. We've seen Gulak versus AJ a couple times already, so, I'm always game for seeing something a little bit new, and we did get something new here.
Wasn't it Grand Metallica who won the match?
Grand Metalik
Metallica
won the match.
Grand Metallica.
Yeah.
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 I was kind of pulling for Shorty G just because I love watching Shorty G perform, and I think him and Styles would have had an amazing match. Not to discount Grand Metalik, but I think that Shorty G would have been a better match, personally. But
That could be down the road. But putting Grand Metalik, who, solid performer, maybe this gives him a chance to really shine. Maybe after Rey Mysterio lost his eyeball, maybe he's the heir apparent. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, build up more of their Latin stars. So,
they're doing a hell of a job with Andrade and Angel Garza over on Raw.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to start building some of the Latin stars over in SmackDown, and Grand Metalik might be that guy, because why not?
Yep. All right. So, Grand Metalik going against AJ Styles next week. All right. We did have a Miz TV segment where Miz and Morrison had Naomi on. And one of my favorite moments was Naomi's songs on and Miz and Morrison were dancing to it.
Mm-hmm.
One of those stupid little details that I'm like, this is so good. Such good shit. But in the end, what we had here was Miz and Morrison doing what they do, and they made fun of Naomi. Lacey Evans comes out and just kind of stirring up crap. But this time we had Naomi actually kind of going over and making Lacey look like a fool and having Lacey run away.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that means Lacey Evans is now a heel again?
Yes. This was explained about as well as the Mickie James heel turn from 4 or 5 years ago.
No, it wasn't. Terrible. It's terrible.
So good. As good as Nia Jax versus anybody.
Primetime Brian Lee in a wrestling match.
Against The Undertaker.
The African qualifying match in the Pat O'Connor
Memorial Tournament
of
Clash
Clash
of the
13.
Kalua and Botswana Beast versus Colonel DeClerc and Sergeant Kruger. or was it Colonel Kruger and Sergeant DeClerc?
One of them turned out to be Rocco Rock from
Yes.
Public Enemy.
Yes. All right, and then the main event for SmackDown was Jeff Harvey versus Sheamus and a bar fight.
It's a shameful thing, lobster head, a careless man who could wind up dead. Sorry. Too many lines.
Right. But they did have Jeff Harvey with a line where he did mention his brother, and his brother was deleted, and they had a part where Sheamus was trying to serve him a shot, and then there was a part where Sheamus chugged a beer. They had a bunch of like Jameson whiskey barrels. I think in general they did a good job here with this match, and at the end of it, I don't know if it was Wello, but they had a different version of Jeff Harvey appear at the end of this, where he had the like whited out eyes and ended up beating Sheamus with the Swanton Bomb. I enjoyed this.
So did I.
Yeah?
Yeah!
So hopefully this is the end of this pitiful storyline where they use Jeff Hardy's alcohol problem as a story prop. Fucking bullshit. I know. You know what, Petey? I think the same thing. I mean, think about what I brought up the other day. This is as bad. This is as bad. All right. AEW this week. We had, to start the show, we had Eddie Kingston, no relation to Kofi, allegedly.
An 18-year veteran who's making his AEW debut, by the way.
Going against Cody for the TNT title, and he cut a heck of a promo at the beginning of the match saying, hey, you're going against a real man here. Make this a no DQ match. Let's see who the better man is. I really enjoyed this match. The powerbomb Cody took onto the thumbtacks was ridiculous. Cody is going above and beyond to entertain people with these matches, and he's doing stuff a little bit different. And the fact that they gave a dude like Eddie Kingston a shot, I thought they completely delivered with this match, and I'd love to see more of Eddie Kingston, because he cut a promo after the match too, and like, you know what? I did all I could, and Cody was just better than I was. And he kept on saying Cody Rhodes, but they kept on bleeping it out, which for me was a fucking great touch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going against Cody Rhodes, and it was like Cody boo, Cody boo.
Yeah.
Fucking great. I love it. I love when they do shit like that.
I just think it's interesting now that it seems like a lot of people with ties to TNA, or not TNA, to NWA have been showing up in AEW. Because Cole Cabana was part of NWA, and now he's part of AEW. There's the guy who attacked, I'm horrible at names, and I apologize for that. The guy who attacked Darby Allin later on in the show was actually part of NWA. Eddie Kingston was just part of NWA. I'm curious if we're going to get
Starks.
Ricky Starks. Yes. That's it. Ricky Starks was part of NWA. I'm curious if that means we're going to get Damian Sandow or Mr. Kennedy or
Jimmy Wang Yang.
Right. Or James Storm or one of those guys in AEW.
Yeah. But they had a heck of a match. Great way to start the show. AEW, by the way, this week continued to beat WWE, especially in the target audience that they're trying to hit. But beyond that, they also beat them in sheer numbers. So
I think Chris Jericho now has a new shirt, and it seems like every week everybody has a
the
new
Demo
shirt.
God.
Demo God 1849. I fucking love Chris Jericho. The man can't do anything wrong.
He's the GOAT.
He is
they have delayed, by the way, the Cruise of Jericho
until October
2021.
You know what that means? We're going to be there, baby.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
All right. Then we had MJF, who has been raising a little bit of a ruckus about, hey, I'm number one contender. I'm undefeated in singles matches. Why haven't I gotten my title shot? MJF had a match against Griff Garrison and was victorious once again.
Isn't that the teacher from South Park?
Sure.
Sorry.
But MJF wins, continuing his streak, and we're going to see him against Moxley at All Out.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if he won the title either.
All right, so there was that. We had Young Bucks going against the Butcher and the Blade. This match was a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yep.
The ending of this match, holy shit, I fucking loved it. Like, I enjoy spots. I know that the Young Bucks are spot monkeys, per se. I fucking love the end of this match. They both climbed on top of the entrance area and jumped onto the Butcher and the Blade on top of fucking tables and pinned them. I fucking love this. I loved everything about this.
The one of the bumps that I was like, holy shit, when it happened was I forget which one's the Butcher and which one's the Blade, but the smaller of the two did a flip outside the ring and went to hit one of the Bucks, and he just kind of did a flip onto the table by himself, and I'm like, oh, that did not look good. And then the fat one, so I don't remember. Like I said, I don't know which one is Butcher, and I don't know which one is the Blade.
I'm gonna say the Butcher's the fat one.
That's my guess. That's what I was thinking too. So the Butcher actually like did like a cross body into a table onto one of the Young Bucks. So I thought that was a pretty cool segment. It was a great match.
It was. All right, so then we had Hangman Page against 5 from the Dark Order. No surprise to anyone. Hangman wins this match, but Brody Lee decided that he was going to offer him a spot in the Dark Order, which Hangman... Brody Lee didn't take too kind to this and had the Dark Order attack, including Colt Cabana. And FTR came out to save him, and eventually... Kenny Omega, your favorite, Don't Eat Brown Snow's favorite, came out and didn't really do much to help. Shocked. So, Hangman Page wins, and they add a little bit of a nuance to this storyline that they've been going since basically, I'm not going to say the very beginning of AEW, but pretty close. So, all right, then we had Inner Circle going against Jurassic Express, and it was Jericho and Jake Hager versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Inner Circle goes over, but there was a part in the match where all of a sudden there was a masked person who came out to the ring and started using a baseball bat. And lo and behold, after Luchasaurus got hit by the baseball bat, got pinned, we find out it's a returning
Sammy Guevara,
the Spanish God. Apparently they gave him a month suspension for what he said about Sasha Banks several years ago. Good to see him back on TV, and good to see him not eating a pinfall.
I hate the fact that people got butthurt about it. Like, they should have done it differently. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Let it go. There's too many offended people in this freaking world.
And that's most of AEW. One little minor caveat is Taz is still Brian Cage's manager. And Darby Allin came out to attack Brian Cage, but he got his ass beat down by Ricky Starks and then took a couple of sick power bombs for Brian Cage, one on the outside of the ring and then one where Brian Cage threw him halfway across the ring. But he got saved by one Jon Moxley with a baseball bat with barbed wire.
And it's going to be very interesting because this coming week on AEW Dynamite, it's supposed to be in a tornado tag, Ricky Starks and Brian Cage versus Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. But because of the attack by Ricky Starks, he was a little. He basically did his best Nia Jax impression, and he actually injured Darby Allin. And Darby Allin might have suffered a concussion. Only time will tell if that actually happened. So we'll see how that goes.
Wait. Adam Cole, baby.
One thing I wanted to discuss before we get into one of my favorite segments of the podcast. So this week, Pat McAfee, former NFL punter, who did a lot of pre-shows for the WWE, and I think now he's working for ESPN or something like that.
Yeah, he's part of ESPN Radio.
And he had Adam Cole on there, and he basically was throwing shots at. I would love to do it right now, but I'm actually calming the
Throwing shots?
No, Adam Cole, baby, but I'm calming the dog down because he was very vocal about the Jeff Hardy Sheamus match, almost as much as he was very vocal about you saying Susan Waltman. I don't even want to say her name now because he might.
Oh my God!
He's getting fired up again. Shh. It's okay, PD. It's okay. I won't bring up the devil woman's name ever again. To a point where he was saying some things about Adam Cole, and Adam Cole got so pissed off, he stormed off. So my question would be: Is this a work, or do you think he Jim Everetted him?
I think this was a work. There's so much here where like when Adam Cole says, "Oh, you're bringing up the size thing," like that was like for me a thing that like this feels like this is something they planned out, but it was really well done where there are enough people.
Former tag team, well done.
Yeah, but it was well done enough that like there's a little part of you like, huh, is this real? Is this real? Because like he was talking about Adam Cole, baby, came in and was like, I've been around my family, so it's like Adam Cole, family man right now, so it's a little different. It's like, no. He was saying that at the beginning to set up the fact that it was really Adam Cole, the wrestler. Yeah, that was there. The sports entertainer. Fuck that. He's a pro wrestler. He's a pro wrestler. Anyway, Adam Cole, baby. I thought the two of them sold this segment really well. I wouldn't mind seeing McAfee at NXT or wherever Adam Cole, baby, ends up as far as if he ends up on the main roster. If they have a SummerSlam match, if they have a TakeOver XXX match, great. Yeah, that'll get them more eyeballs, more ears, more whatever. And Adam Cole can do better than Kenny Omega and carry McAfee to a good match.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm
100% on board with that. If that's the case.
I'd love to see like McAfee get his own like stable of people to be in his corner while Undisputed Era's in Adam Cole, baby's corner.
Wow, that was very. Wow, that was one of the worst Adam Cole babies we've done. But that's okay. It's but.
All right, so that is basically what happened this week.
Now it's time for the good, the bad, and the brainless.
Yeah.
So, Cousin Jay, what was your good for this week?
I'm actually going with what we just talked about, the Pat McAfee and Adam Cole baby segment. It was fantastic work from both of these guys, and it's going to lead to something down the road. I don't know if it's going to be like Jon Stewart turning on John Cena at SummerSlam type stuff, or it's going to be an actual match between the two of these guys. But I'm looking forward to see what they do with it.
Okay. I'm going to go a little sentimental with my good for this week.
Yeah?
You know who gets the good from the brainless one this week?
These shirts?
Nope. It's the two gentlemen that are wearing these shirts. I'm going to give the good this week to Jay and myself. And it's because of the fact that we've gone 4 years of doing this podcast. 4 years. And still, we are the fastest growing podcast, two guys from the city of Bristol, Connecticut, who talk about professional wrestling while drinking 40s and Colt 45, because the 40 don't get you the 5 will. And we have done this for 4 years. We've been always changing. We've added the GOAT board of goatitude. We've added a good, a bad, and a brainless. We've added so much stuff over the years. We've gone from being an audio account where we had like maybe 10 people a week tuning in to the fact that we've had 4,100 people tune into an episode of the podcast. We've done
Soon to
great
get
things
over 12,000 and defeating the Pursuit Channel and Impact Wrestling.
so that the thank you, Chris Brown. I appreciate that. And the fact that if we do get over 12,000 views, the Brainless One will do a Man of Lantern live on the podcast, because I'm just trying to motivate you all to have me do stupid human tricks and humiliate myself. But the fact is that I give the good to us because of the fact that you and I have been doing this for the most part, almost every episode, probably about 170-something episodes combined. There's been a few times where El Jefe has had to fill in. And there was even that one episode where you did it without me, by yourself. But at the end of the day, you and I both deserve the good because we have been doing this for 4 years, and we feel like we can keep going for another 44 years.
Yeah.
When we're at the retirement home together, and we're talking about how Roman Reigns is still the big dog, and how at that point
Curtis Axel
will be at like 8 billion
50 years
yeah,
alive in the
Royal Rumble. But yeah, I think that because of today, I'm going to give us the good for this week because we never we never give ourselves we don't give ourselves our own, like, what is it, the rub the right way.
right.
So we deserve it this week.
All right.
What's your bad for this week?
I'm going with King Corbin here. King Corbin shitting on NXT and 205 Live. Now, as much as I know he's a heel, and you're trying to make the guy you're going against, Matt Riddle, look like minor league, don't make the other parts of your organization look like minor league. Tell him that he's going to get sent back to CZW or something that WWE doesn't own.
Progress.
So I think he could have done something better with that. As much as I appreciate the strides that King Corbin has made over the past couple of years, as far as his character, as far as his promos, this was poor.
Piss poor.
So
My bad for this week, it goes to the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And I forgot to mention that. I think it's and that says a lot about what we said about our goods, because Slammiversary definitely deserved to be good this week because it was really good and the buy rates were incredible. And Heath Slater came out and debuted, and so did all these guys, and it was a great show. But anyway, speaking of pay-per-views last weekend, my bad for this week goes to Horror Show Extreme Rules. It was just bad. And like you said, it might have been the worst pay-per-view that I've ever witnessed. It's up there for me. I always think of, I think it was December to Dismember or One Night Stand.
December to Dismember. There was nothing wrong with one night stands. 2005 or 2006, both were good. 2006 was the one
Where Terry Funk almost died. Yes, I remember.
And John Cena kept on getting his shirt thrown back at him.
That was where they had the signs of Cena wins, we riot. And I was 100% convinced that was going to happen. But yes, there has been a lot of shitty freaking pay-per-views, and that one is definitely in the conversation as one of the worst. And it's just a shame because there were a couple of good matches, but everything else was just a fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets my bad.
It is my brainless for this week. Extreme Rules was just a shit show. A couple of good matches completely overshadowed by crappy booking.
And Bruce Pritchard should have been fired halfway through the show.
Vince McMahon's the one who makes the final say on these things. It's not Bruce Pritchard's fault that Vince McMahon is old, senile, and thinks that everything that he thinks of is such good shit now.
See, my brainless is actually part of Extreme Rules, but it was one match in particular that deserved it. And that was the Raw Women's Championship from Extreme Rules. That gets the brainless for me from this week. Like I said, I had no problem with the green mist getting freaking blown in the face of the referee. But the fact is that Bayley blasted Asuka with the belt. Sasha covered her. Bayley ripped the referee's shirt off of the referee, and she counted the pin, and somehow Sasha Banks walked out with the Raw Women's title. It was fucking stupid. I am sick and fucking tired of fucking Bayley. Get her off my fucking TV. She is in the fucking class with goddamn Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair for me. I am just sick and tired of seeing Bayley. Because you know why? Bayley just doesn't do it for me. Bayley she's the dirt face. She's the Kenny Omega of WWE. I don't understand why everybody loves her. Yeah, I get the fact that she was all, look at my 4 randomly inflatable Bayley buddies, and I'm going to hug everybody. And then she basically turned heel, and it was like, you are the least believable heel in the history of professional wrestling, and you keep trying, and you're a fucking tryhard, you stupid bitch. I am fucking tired of it, and the fact that all this time after what they had their temper tantrum, I don't care. You can take a turd, you can cover it in sparkles, put a fucking bow on it. At the end of the day, it's a fucking turd. You can all go out there and deny the fact that her and Sasha had a freaking tism after finding out they were going to lose the women's tag team titles after WrestleMania. So Sasha was off TV for a while. Call it what you want to call it. They were freaking babies. They fucking whined and cried, and now they're both freaking double champions, and I'm fucking sick of it.
Only one of them's double champion.
Well, right now, I'm just gonna.
Stephanie McMahon made a match for Asuka and Sasha for Monday Night Raw as like a rematch.
Bitchy 2 belts. Yes, I love it. Yes.
Yes. Chris is saying that he believes that Capital Punishment was the worst WWE pay-per-view, which I guess it is. I vaguely remember it, but I don't know if it rivals Capital Combat from 1990 from WCW with RoboCop and Sting. Sting had very recently before that had a knee operation because he was supposed to go against Ric Flair at Wrestle War 90, and they when they had the Clash of the Champions in Corpus Christi, and Sting ended up messing up his knee trying to, I think, climb the cage, and like the Horseman turned on him. That was like one of those weird 90s versions of the Horseman where it was only Arn, Ric Flair, and Sting.
Yeah.
And like, I remember they did promos about how Sting and Flair were actually training together. And then like Ole Anderson comes out like, Horseman doesn't challenge a Horseman. You're no longer a Horseman, and you have until the end of this show to back out of that match. Well, Sting wasn't going to back out of that match and climbs up the cage, F's up his knee, gets beat up by the Horseman, and had his knee scoped. But he showed up with RoboCop at Capital Combat in May of 1990.
Right before Clash 13 happened, and Ole Anderson ended up getting fired.
And it was right before Sting won the title, which was at Great American Bash in 1990. Sting came back very quickly from that knee injury, but Capital Combat with RoboCop, shit show.
Yeah.
I might need to watch that after we finish. Or that or the Chamber of Horrors match. Thank you, WCW, for all of those. Battle Bowl, yeah. Yes. Now, WCW did the thing where they had like the cage on top of the cage on top of the cage, which happened in like, I think it was the late 90s, and they had Zeus. And they came up with a different name for Zeus. But so terrible, it was so good. So good.
Yeah.
Love it. Anyway,
Sorry, Pete.
I think that about does it for.
So whether you are a continuous fan or somebody who's tuning in for the first time, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Think, the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same thing back. We've been doing that from the beginning. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the Wrestling Marks page, facebook.com/WrestleMarks, and have it set up for notifications so that when we do go live, you get notified that we are going live so you can tune in. Also, just remember that 12,000 views, Man of Lantern, Brainless One, live on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, that's
Make sure you share it out.
Yes. Word of mouth. Tell your friends to tell their friends.
You hear that, Nicole?
Tell their friends to tell their friends.
Make sure you tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends. Make sure it spreads throughout your entire workplace.
So with that being said, like I said, this is the 4-year anniversary of the podcast. I was here in episode 1. You were here at episode 1. Neither one of us has been here for all 184 episodes. But one person in particular, who is a Hall of Famer, has been a part of all 184 episodes.
Who?
That's because today which is July 25th of 2020, at an astonishing 1,815 days. Epic Marks Hall of Famer Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
That might be the first time we actually got it perfectly timed.
I wish I had an extra second or two, but close enough.
Yeah?
So anyway, for episode 184 of the Epic Marks podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am the brainless one. Make sure y'all mark out
With your guac out. And you want to know why? Because that's such good shit, pal. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for tuning in.
Man, Lantern!